Conversations with Greg J is on. How y'all doing? Here we are again, another day, thinking about the making of hip hop. This is what we're going to talk about today. Got great guests coming through. And, it's all in the background, of course, at Coffee Conversations. This is the place where we have culturally relevant conversations about a wide variety of subjects from a global perspective. And so right now we're talking about that international phenomenon of hip hop. They're celebrating 50 years, they say. And just blessed to have been right there at the front row seat to watch hip hop being born, watch stars being born, being part of, important media messages talking about hip hop. And, man, I was there. So, Brother Greg going through his Rolodex here, see if I can get all my hip hop heads going. Y'all had Dwayne Muffler Simon on the last time we talked about hip hop. But today, this one is near and dear to my heart, ladies and gentlemen. The poetess, Felicia Morris. Good morning.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Awesome.
Yay, 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 yay. It's so good to see you. Look at you.
Likewise. Hey, Greg.
What's going on in your world?
Wow. Just being an entrepreneur.
Hmm. You know,
um,
for those of y'all who don't know, I was Felicia's manager. She was budding female rap artist coming up in an exceptionally male dominated, man. I mean, being a manager and representing the poetess, you can see, the women really didn't have nothing coming. It was just very like, a challenge at all times. And, when you reflect on those days, Felicia, man, you see there's so many female rappers now and all of that. How does that make you feel as a OG in the game?
well, I'm glad that there are more females out at the same time. I
Mm,
mean, back when I was coming up, they had their one signature female for
mhm,
either the label or crew.
mhm,
Um, but no, I'm glad to see that female rappers are making more money, doing more. So yeah, I'm happy for that. And yes, Greg was my manager, and he fought the good fight.
yeah.
And labels really didn't know what to do with female artists really back then. You either had to be almost naked or you were Queen Latifah. And so I kind of was leaning toward the Queen Latifah, the conscious rap, the conscious hip hop. But the good thing about that is back then you had a variety to choose from. It wasn't just one thing. So you either had your conscious rap, your party rap, your gangster rap, your booty rap, all of that. So you had a nice little array of hip hop, and then you might choose to like all of them
Mhm,
because it was hip hop back then.
mhm, mhm, mhm. You are also a journalist par excellence, and I know our good friend Sheena Lester is here. I'm going to take this moment to bring her in, and I want to talk a little bit about how back in the day. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Hello. I'm well. How you doing?
Doing all right, Sheena. Good to see you.
You
Look at
too,
you.
Greg.
Yay.
You
So,
too.
before we go into that, I was going to really get into this notion about hip hop journalism and tell the folks a little bit real quickly about your background there, Sheena, and then Felicia, I'm going to complete the question.
I started at the Los Angeles Sentinel newspaper and worked for a variety of independent magazines, and then got hired by Rap Pages magazine, and then Vibe magazine, and then Double XL magazine.
Mhm, mhm. See, when we say these notions about 50 years of hip hop, you all are like, especially here in Long Beach, where we're based, but we do, have a global audience. But there's a lot of talk about hip hop music, and especially from a Long Beach perspective. But what gives me pause is a lot of the people in control of telling that story were not there. They did not have like a direct perspective of the growth of hip hop. That's why this series is called The Making of Hip Hop. And so, as hip hop journalists, Felicia, you had the hip hop countdown and report, and then went on to be a renowned jock on, what is that, The Beat,
Hmm.
92.3 or before the 100?
Yeah, well, both.
Both,
And I
okay.
started with you with Lee Bailey at Radioscope and the Hip Hop Countdown and Report. I don't think because people weren't there that they can't report or make a documentary on a certain thing. People do history pieces all the time and they weren't there. So I think if you do the correct amount of research and interviews and all of that, if you're doing the work to tell the story, then it doesn't matter, if you were there or not, but talk to the people who were, because there might be a lot of young people that aren't even from this generation that might want to explore and tell the story. So
Sheena, what are your thoughts?
Um, about what in particular? About hip
Okay,
hop
let me just ask
journalism
you
in
this
general?
question here. Okay, here's the thing. So 50 years of hip hop, what are your reflections of 50 years? Is it 50 years exactly?
I guess. I mean, it's
Yeah.
as long. It depends on I guess it depends on who you are and your own independent history. I'm not going to
Mhm,
judge what people are recording as hip hop's beginning. Um, I don't really
yeah,
have
because
any.
on
Go ahead,
that
please.
one right there, we've had a couple people come through here to talk about the 50 years of hip hop, and it's always it's a question, like, is it really, 50 years? And I've had, last, like when I had Muffler Simon on the other week, he said, yes, August 11th, 1973. There are others who have come through who have said, no, I think, because they're coming from a West Coast
I
perspective.
what I think it is, I don't think it was quite established as hip
Mm,
hop in 73. I think some of the things that they were doing were like the foundation, like the basement parties and the park parties and stuff like that. I
mm,
believe those are the foundation. So maybe they're counting the foundation, and of course it is a part of the history, whether they called it hip hop in 73 or not, because I didn't hear the word hip hop really until at least the 80s.
mm,
So I didn't hear the term hip hop in the 70s.
mhm,
It could have
mhm,
been on the East Coast, or I was just out of the loop, or I was too
mhm,
young. But
mhm,
um I don't know. I mean, I believe because even with Uncle Jam's Army here on the West Coast, they started in the 70s, but
mhm,
they weren't necessarily calling it hip hop. They were doing the same thing New Yorkers were doing, the parties. Well, they were having parties at like the Forum and the local clubs in the city, but it was the same vibe. It was the
mhm,
DJ, it was the MC at the club. So, and Uncle Jam's Army, they go back to at least the mid 70s.
mhm.
So they can count that. I mean, maybe that is 50 years ago.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Where they planted the seed and started to the foundation.
And
Mhm,
ultimately, as long as it's a celebration of the artistry, the genius, the courage, the expression um, of a generation of young urban folks just coming up as best they could, expressing who they were,
mhm,
then, it could be 50, it could be 75.
mhm,
So whatever's clever,
Yeah,
ultimately.
because people were rapping before hip hop. You know, they
I
say some of the
remember.
best rappers like in the 20s and the 30s, and
Yes.
so
Yeah,
Yes.
I heard a couple arguing on the bus in Philadelphia about whether or not Stevie Wonder did a guest rap in As. So it's like, okay, that was just fun to overhear, just for the sake of the conversation.
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
So
So I mean, we got to have something that says this is the date and time that this was originated,
Mhm,
so that it can be celebrated
mhm.
um,
mhm.
each year at that date and time. So I don't have an issue with hip hop 50.
Yeah.
um you know I Yeah, there's no argument for me
Right,
because
right, yeah.
I think
So,
it was bubbling,
mhm,
it was starting to bubble in 73. It was
mhm.
where they planted the seeds and it grew
Yeah.
Mhm.
into hip hop.
You're absolutely right because, like, when you listen to old records, like you say, but all the way back to the 20s and 30s, they call it signifying. They're basically throwing rhymes out there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
an Africanism for sure. And it's very interesting. Now, let me ask y'all, both of you as
And
journalists.
just on that note, a little longer back, when before NWA,
Mm,
they they did parodies of songs from Dolomite and what was the Blowfly.
mhm,
So they would listen to those songs and they would make their own versions of them. So those people, no one really looks at the fact that Rudy Ray Moore and Blowfly had a heavy influence on NWA,
sure.
and the Two Live Crew, because the Two Live Crew is from Riverside, California. So they were doing the same thing out here, and they took it to Luke and in Miami and became the Two Live Crew. But those were some other influence in terms of like the beginnings of NWA and even gangster rap. I mean, they were influenced by majorly by those two individuals.
Mhm. Let me ask y'all, as you look back now upon hip hop history as journalists, what's the most profound story, Sheena, you have covered? Like where you sit back now and look back, you're like, dang, that was really something.
One, Greg. I mean, out of 50 years of hip hop,
Well,
you think
can
there
I
might
jump
just be
in
one? Yeah,
and
ask Felicia. I
say,
have no idea. Ask Felicia.
and this is a plug for my sister Sheena. She just did the greatest day in hip hop. What's the byline, Sheena?
Oh, what the Ottawa, the greatest day, the
Yeah, the
thing.
greatest day. That's what the greatest day is. The iconic photograph, hip hop photograph that she did for Double XL. So I'm
Nice.
speaking from a fan's perspective. That's one of the things that I feel that Sheena did that was iconic.
Nice.
And it's on Audible, by the way. Plug plug.
All right. Hey,
Sheena
yeah, yeah,
narrated
yeah.
and wrote it, so
All
go
right.
check that out. It's a brilliant piece. So
Okay. Hey, look, if you can, send the link in the chat right there.
I
okay,
Okay.
will.
let me see.
I
I
I
think I
know
already have it
it's on
up.
Amazon. It's on Amazon.
It's on
Mhm.
It is on Amazon,
yeah,
but it's
Audible.
Audible. It's absolutely
Mhm.
via Audible on
Mhm.
Audible. Thank you,
Okay,
Fee.
I'm about to put the link in there right now.
Nice.
Well, I can certainly add, in addition to my thanks for that sweetness, um, a year after Gordon Parks shot hip hop's artists on the
Mhm.
same steps that Art Kane shot jazz musicians for Esquire, Felicia did an event in Los Angeles called A Day in the West
Mhm.
um, in August of 1999. And that photo has never seen daylight, unfortunately. And he,
Arnold took the photo.
Arnold Turner, hello, hello, and that picture never came out, and it certainly should. Every day that it's not out, hopefully gives it some more value to folks who realize how important it is those moments were. So
Well, that's good information to know. And yes, duly noted. That's very interesting. When you think about famous photos, people like Arnold Turner, we've been thinking a lot about Arnold Turner, Bill Jones, on and on and on, just the fabric of history that those folks have, Donna Dimely, who have captured over the years. And you know what? Maybe we'll find that photo. How about that?
I hope so. All we
He
gotta
has
do.
it. He
He took
claims
it.
he has it anyway, but
Mhm.
none of us have ever seen it. And that's the big mystery. Does it really exist?
Uh,
Did he have film in the camera that day? We don't know. But
Might have had the cap on the camera lens. Who
we
knows?
we just don't know. So,
man.
but we
Okay.
had everybody there. I would say 85% of people who were instrumental in West Coast hip hop was there that day.
Wow.
There were a few major, one or two major folk missing, but I think Ice Cube was one of them.
Which is one of
Mhm,
the
But
mhm.
reasons why Arnold never put the picture out. He said that he was going to superimpose Ice Cube
oh,
in
let
it.
Ice Cube kick himself for not being in the photo. Not
I'm
why,
saying
everybody else showed up.
Right.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Right. Yeah. 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 Wow.
I think Dre even showed up that day, if I'm not
I think
mistaken.
I think he did too. Rockthebells.net or .com. I keep saying .net always.
Hmm.
They did a story, I believe, last year, and they followed up. I might have been the only story that sort of existed about the day that didn't result in what it
Wow.
should have. So
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, that's a good history to know about, and let's continue to really uplift that. I mean, we've really been all about preserving history from a culturally relevant perspective, finding ways to also present our art and our history in art type format. I don't know if you all know, we've held three very nice art exhibits out here in Long Beach, and pretty soon we'll be exhibiting another one that is really celebrating what we call public art now, but it used to be called graph artists back in the day. But some pretty profound art pieces that we found in the wake of the Long Beach uprising, and we're taking all of these street artists and assembling them in a really nice um, art gallery setting. And I'll invite you all to that. Maybe we should start looking for some of these famous photographs and mount a similar exhibit.
Yeah.
that would
Um,
be wonderful.
yeah, because there's a lot of great hip hop photographers out there too that I'm sure has some brilliant photos and historic photos that can be featured, you know.
And there's a woman by the name of Vicky Toback who did a book a couple of years ago called Contact High, which basically gathered
Mhm.
contact sheets from famous hip hop photo shoots that had taken place and put them together
Mhm.
and put together a mix of famous photos, some
And photo
famous, some
shoots.
infamous,
Hmm.
some have never been seen. But she did a
Mhm.
book and she did a traveling exhibit that actually traveled internationally because part of that
Yeah, it
exhibit,
was here. That was the thing we that they had the greatest day mural.
yep, they had the greatest day mirror up on a wall. It was
Yeah.
huge and
Nice.
wonderful. So,
Hmm.
Nice.
and also respect.com, that's a website that was about capturing the imagery collected over those days of different famous
Mhm.
photo shoots and um, photos from photo shoots that were not so famous but perhaps should have been. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, I
there's
didn't
lots
know
of.
that My Conception did one. We were in New York in May, and there was a great exhibit there, and they showed a picture of all the rappers from, well, most of the rappers from We're All in the Same Gang.
Oh, yay.
And I didn't
Nice.
know that
Nice.
photo existed. I sent it to Jeff, and because I took a picture of the picture, and Jeff was like, "Wow!"
Mhm.
Like, so
Wow.
there probably is a lot of good photos out there that captured the artists of the day, that era, and B plus. I mean, another
Mhm.
brilliant for. I'm not going to even call him a hip hop photographer because he's not. He just captured a lot of the just awesome pictures of Easy E. You know, he's probably did them all. He did one of
Mhm.
my station promos that I had when I was at the beat, and I love that picture to this day. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
so yeah, they're out there. There's people, documentarians that are, out there with material that needs to be put out there. Hint, hint.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I love that
Got
you
it.
said that about Brian because Brian Cross shot imagery of artists when they were coming up,
Mhm.
before they became famous, when he was just shooting hungry young people discovering their own voices at the Good Life,
Mhm. Mhm.
or,
Mhm.
Raz Kaz and Mean Green and Voodoo and Bird on Voodoo's porch, for their Western Hemisphere stuff, just a part of the community that he was documenting too.
Mhm.
The fact that it was hip hop was just a reflection of what he valued and what he cared to document. But he's got imagery of people all over the world just being, their wonderful selves, and that's what
Sure.
you know real real photography is supposed to do, and ultimately
Mhm.
what real hip hop journalism was supposed to do.
Mhm.
I'm lucky because I met my best friend in the world while working for a hip hop magazine. When I was early in my days at Rap Pages, we did a women in hip hop special, and as part of it, we did a conversation with some female rappers, Sister Soldier, Yo Yo, Poetess, and right after that conversation, which I was lucky enough to hold for the magazine, Felicia and I just kept being friends. And so,
I needed
she's
a place to live.
so hip hop has been responsible for all of the magic in my life
Yeah,
without a doubt, and
yeah,
I'm sure
Nice.
that
Nice.
our whole generation, a bulk of us can say that. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Contrast for me, you all, like when you hear hip hop or rap music as we hear it today, with just contrast and give me your perspectives. Are we living up to its intention? I hear people saying, um, especially after the BET Awards, I kept hearing comments saying, they were tired of the stripper culture. And then, I always wonder when I'm talking to, old hip hop heads, like, the brother goes down the street with his boombox, the lyrics are just, it's a bit
You know
much.
what? You can say Luke was
Right.
stripper
Yeah. Yeah.
culture. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
think the
Vita
only
Proud and I were
difference
saying that
now,
same thing.
the only thing that I say is different is that back then you at least had more to choose from.
Mhm.
And then now the media and the powers that be and the people that reach the masses, they choose that one sector of hip hop. There's good hip hop out there. Unfortunately, you either got to stumble upon it or look for it actively. Because they're not putting it up on major. If you watch They Clone Tyrone, and that
Yes.
whole thing about the music influencing the audiences. If you play love music, you falling in love. You play thug music, you ready to go out and kill somebody. It's like they are programming what they want us to hear. But if you dig deep and support these artists that are making not necessarily conscious music, but at least music's to your own personal standard, then support them. Like, I don't think I don't talk down to the new generation of rappers because people said that about our generation of rappers. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
they hated rap music back when we were heavy into rap music. But I just say that there is good rap music out there. I've stumbled upon some and I love it. I even like some of the stuff people criticize.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I like Cardi B. I like the baby. So, but back then you had more of a variety to choose from. You had the conscious rap, you had the gangster rap, you had the Luke rap, you had the down south rap. Now when you go drive, you could drive across the country and tell what region you were in just by driving through and listening to the radio. Now everybody is playing the same thing. So you don't know. You know, even LA rappers, you can't tell they're from LA anymore. So
No,
unless they say they're from LA, you know.
it's pop music now. Hip hop music is now pop music. It's not resistance music,
Rap
and it
music.
was.
I don't want to say hip hop,
Yeah.
but rap
Well,
music.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Rap music is pop music.
Mm.
And when hip hop was, when the music of hip hop culture was being created, when hip hop was still in its, you know, young stages, in its young years, it really was about resistance. It really was about expression in a way that was not about, you know, popular mainstream culture. And now it is. The difference is that what didn't happen is that whatever we were supposed to quote unquote teach the new generation about hip hop culture, maybe we didn't do that. At least as far as some of the criticism that I hear from folks, there's a lot of people who have a lot to whine about hip hop, but they didn't do anything to try to make sure that this generation, you know, learned what they could from our generation, and that the lessons that we didn't learn that we could have instilled in them, we didn't. You know, I'm happy for anybody who wants to pick up a mic and express their reality to someone who's going to care about it and value it, and or just be entertained by it ultimately. You know, just the difference is that when hip hop was young, it was urban youth culture, and now it is pop culture, period. And I know that, you know, a lot of people resent that, you know, but it is what it is. So you can either be a part of making it better, being a part of the conversation that gives it the value that we want it to, um, or we can just introduce these new kids to the folks of our generation who, you know, keep it dope. You know what I mean? I like a lot of the new kids now too, still turned on by the folks in our generation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily have to turn on any new stuff because our old stuff is still doper than a lot of what's out today, you know? But it's not a judgment, it's just my own personal taste. You know, when my kids were growing up, they resisted hip hop because they were just, you know, okay, hip hop is cool. But again, they recognized that it was sort of a popular music, and they were almost resisting popular music and going into classical. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, I just think it all depends to your exposure to it, what you were taught about it in terms of what to value. Um, and hopefully, you know, I just hope that this new generation knows what they can do with it and chooses to do so. You know, there's a lot of, you know, a lot of what's not happening in hip hop has to do with what we're not talking about socially, you know, what we're not doing economically, business wise, that we could be doing, that kind of thing. But I'm happy for the new generation. I'm happy for anybody who's living the life that reflects what they care about and of being of service to themselves and their family and their community, you know?
All right, all right. Well said. I know y'all have to go. We out here working, striving, making things happen. I just really am so thankful that you all took the time out to have a little coffee conversation with Greg J. Thank you, thank you, thank you for
You're
so much.
welcome. Thank you, Greg, and happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
It's your birthday. Let's see, we should have started with that. Happy birthday,
uh,
Greg. Aw.
Yay, yes, thank you. Yes, I'm
Me
getting
and
older
Greg go
now.
way back. We
We
go
go way
back to
back.
Lee Bailey. That's where I
Yeah.
met Greg, really from the very start of my professional career. I've known Greg Johnson,
Hmm.
and you've always been a stand-up guy, and
Thank you.
keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you. So thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Come on, we're supposed to be going to Africa now.
You say when so we can get our
Okay, so
coins
look.
together.
Okay,
Please,
March,
please.
March, March.
Okay.
All right.
March 2024. I'll start saving my coins now. I
I'll
know I'm
say
inviting myself, but yeah, I am inviting myself.
no, no. You don't. You must come. Listen, I have so many friends over there now. that our industry and everything. And man, I would love for you all, because I mean, like you say, we go way back, right? And just to roll over there and just kick it with my friends who are on the radio, who are in music, who are in television, and it's especially in South Africa, which is this trip is South Africa. We just came back from Ghana, but um, this one is South Africa, and it's just fly. You know what I mean? And it would be my honor to have y'all rolling with me. The squad coming through to my friends in South Africa. It would be an exceptional honor for me.
All right. Well,
Oh,
keep us posted.
Yeah, for
heck
sure.
yeah.
All
All
right,
right.
Poetess, enjoy your day.
Enjoy your
Happy
day too. All
birthday.
right. Yay. Thank you. All right, y'all. You get this podcast on Facebook,
Okay.
YouTube, all those different places. We repurpose the audio wherever you get your favorite podcast, Spreaker, iHeart, Google, Spotify. Just type in there Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Remember, love one another. Love one another. Love one another.
Peace
Peace
out.
and blessings.